edition of the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy. Thank you all for listening or watching to this podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, on any audio platform. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts as well. We are also on YouTube just by searching up Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and even comment if you'd like to. We'd love to hear from you guys as in regards to who we should interview each week during the athletic calendar year. So we'd love to hear from you guys as the audience. A couple of things. We have a lot of moving parts. I normally say it's a busy show, but it's a lot of moving parts today. But before we do anything else, before I give the rest of the show format, I have a big thank you to two of our sponsors. The first one is Mountain Care Network, and Mountain Care Network was designed to increase accessibility to mental health services and decrease the stigma associated with mental health treatment in West Virginia. Check them out by going to their website, mountaincarenetwork.com. That's mountaincarenetwork.com. And special thank you to the fine folks over at 5th Street Brewing over on 180 Summer Street here in Charleston. Over 12 beers on tap, a wide variety of food selections. So thank you to both of our sponsors in Mountain Care Network and 5th Street Brewing. Before we go any further, a little bit of a different format today. So I'm going to go over the player of the week here in a second. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are actually going to be going down to Buffalo High School, where I chatted with the head volleyball coach of the Bison, head coach Barry Clendenin, about their team's successful start to their season as they enter the second half of their season with the state tournament on their minds. And then in our third segment, we are going to be joined by the head football coach of the Capital Cougars, head coach Jon Carpenter. Carpenter was with Capital from 2010 to 2020, then took 3 years off, and he is back leading the Cougars yet again here in Kanawha County. So our player of the week last week for week 4 of the high school football season was Mingo Central's Dylan Vance. Dylan Vance rushed for 134 yards and 1 touchdown. But get this, he was also productive on defense as he had 6 total tackles and 3 sacks along the way to guide the Miners in a victory over the Man Hillbillies last Friday night. So congratulations to Dylan Vance and all the other previous players of the week here at HD Media. We'll be right back here on the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook, and we're going to be joined by the head volleyball coach of the Buffalo Bison, head coach Barry Clendenin.
From middle school, I remember having a conversation with my sister and telling her that I wanted to be a counselor.
The passion's always there to help someone who's vulnerable and help someone who needs a little guidance along the way.
I try to find things in common with them. A lot of times for me, it can be anything from not dressing up to just, like I said, meeting them where they're at. Literally, that's our motto. We meet you where you are.
My energy is just, I try to make it feel so welcoming.
I think the big thing with me is it's always what's in the best interest of the client.
I try to be very open-minded.
This is whatever you need, I'm here to help you with.
Welcome back into the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. This week we're doing 2 separate interviews. In our next segment, we're going to be joined by the head football coach of the Capital Cougars, head coach Jon Carpenter. But for the time being, let's switch it up a little bit. We've talked so much about football here in the Kanawha Valley, and I decided let's do some volleyball. I think volleyball in this area is a great sport in a lot of different areas. There's a lot of great competition. You always seem to see some different teams across the area make the state volleyball tournament in Charleston, and we were pleased to be joined by one of those teams' coaches from last season that made the state tournament, looking to get back there this season, and that is the head volleyball coach of the Buffalo Bison, head coach Barry Clendenin. And Coach, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you guys have had a really good season thus far. I think right around 3-4 wins to this point. Still a lot of season left, but what's really worked well for you guys and really gotten you guys to this point right now?
I think right now team chemistry is a big thing. We've changed some positioning around a little bit, but the chemistry of these girls, they've known each other, they've been around each other, and experience, I think, among the players has been key to us right now.
How do you kind of go about building that chemistry throughout the course of the season? You have a big senior class with 6 players this season, but when you kind of start to identify certain positions and then you want to build the chemistry along the way, as a coach, how do you kind of go about doing that in volleyball?
I think a lot of the times we let the girls have the opportunity to play some different positions through practice, that we don't label them as one spot. And, they have ownership over practice, we give them some time in practice to do different drills and things. We try not to put too much stress on them that it's only volleyball, and in them being able to be the best person that they can be and relaxed around their teammates, I think that's worked well for us.
As a coach, what's made this season enjoyable for you? Obviously, you guys have had a lot of success making the state tournament various years and multiple seasons for that matter, but what's made this season enjoyable for you?
I think having the experience back that we have, it's sometimes during the big games, it's fun to just sit back and just watch them play. And it's, every night there's something, our setter Zoe Hoffman is amazing. She can set the ball from anywhere at any time. And sometimes, it's not even coaching. It's like I get to be a fan sometimes and watch these girls when they play at a high level, and it just makes it, worth all the effort.
When you talk about just the course of this season, I mean, the chemistry is part of it, but what's a piece of this team that you've seen blossom over these last few months?
I think their understanding of the game itself. We have several of them that play travel, and they not only involve themselves in that, but they're in organizations at school together. They hang out a lot. They're friends off the court. And I think, that ability to have those kind of relationships among teens, especially with girls' teams, they develop a closeness. And I think that gives them the trust on the court to kind of like help each other out and to, not be focused on their own goals, but the team goals overall.
When you talk about making the state tournament, it's never an easy thing. As I mentioned, there's always a mix of Kanawha Valley teams. You guys have been in the mix of making the state tournament these last few seasons. For you guys to get back to the state tournament and kind of go further than what you guys wanted to last year, what's going to have to happen this season?
I really think staying focused. We have had some games where we've had some runs of not being able to put some points together. The differentiation in our sections now by moving up a class has changed. I believe AA volleyball is the most competitive class in the state with the teams that are there top to bottom. For us, I think we just have to control the things on our side of the court during games, not put too much focus on the other team. Getting back to the state is a huge goal for these girls. We didn't finish the job that we wanted to last year. And I think, that's really a driving force among the girls themselves.
Kind of extend off of that answer about Class AA volleyball. For people that don't know, I was at the volleyball tournament last year, and the atmosphere at that is just electric. From whether it be once was AAA, single A, now it's going to be across all four classes. But from your perspective, what's something about Class AA volleyball that's really exciting from your perspective?
I think it just helps to have such different teams now. We're seeing some different teams across the board that are now in our class, which is AA. The past two previous seasons, we intentionally scheduled some double and AAA teams to help us beef up our schedule and to give us more experience. And I think that's been something for us as a team that's helped. I think that's kind of prepared us for going into the AA class, as a full season, that we have some of that experience. But I think, it does give some different matchups at times. We had the opportunity to put Philip Barber on our schedule now to really give us a feel for that. Some of the tournament games we're bringing in, even Herbert Hoover from AAA now. And I think that overall experience kind of makes it really exciting night to night because you get different teams.
Let's talk about this home atmosphere. And obviously the Barn is probably one of my favorite names in regards to a home venue in the state, whether it be basketball or volleyball for that matter. But in regards to home atmospheres, what's that like for you and your team just to be able to compete in front of a home crowd like you guys do here at Buffalo? We have, a lot of kids that really support us, students that come out, nightly. And I think, again, the atmosphere is kind of different here. And, the nickname the Barn is unique among the gyms in the state, I think. But, the girls really play hard here. And, I think that goes a lot to even the crowd we bring, not necessarily the students, but we have a lot of community support. And that means a lot to the girls on a nightly basis. You also mentioned the schedule, the scheduling side of things as well. You wanted to beef up your schedule. In regards to volleyball, I think in different sports, we talk so much about football and basketball being the two big sports with strength of schedule. But for volleyball, for that matter, how do you kind of go about identifying a strength or a tough schedule for you guys?
That's a great question. Really, the past couple of years, just trying to look around the state to see who's been those top teams in other classes. we've kind of made it a goal of ours to play up, as much as we can. Getting that exposure to in the past, what was the double A or triple A's. We've had South Charleston on the schedule, Nitro, Hoover for the past couple of years. They're a great team. They've been to the state tournament, 3 or 4 more years in a row. Looking at those kind of teams and what's around in the Kanawha Valley, I think that ability to play those teams and not have to travel as much has also helped our girls because it's quicker recovery and things overall.
Let's talk about a couple of your players, and let's start with Natalie Bison for you guys. First team All-State last year. What have you seen differently about her this time around?
Natalie is a strong player overall. She's pretty much known as our top hitter, but as of right now during the season, she's also one of our top defensive players in the back row, one of our top aces for serving, and I think her general game is really improved. The thing about Natalie is she gives us a little bit of an edge to some of the games. She has a great electricity to her game. She's really fiery. The other girls feed off of it, and I think that's really provided us energy at key times. Not just as a hitter, which she does an exceptional job at, but on the defensive side as well.
Another first team All-State selection for you guys was Zoe Hoffman. And when you talk about Zoe and what she's meant to this team, when it's all said and done, how do you think Zoe's going to be remembered, or just even be an important figure for this team?
I think Zoe she's the key to what we do, I think, as a success the past year or so. Not only in just her setting and her athletic ability, but she has a very calm demeanor most of the time, and people don't realize how competitive she is underneath that. And she doesn't get rattled very easy. Setter's a tough job because you have to respond to a lot of passes, a lot of different ball locations, feed 3 or 4 different types of hitters. She constantly amazes me once or twice a set. Just the other night when we were at St. Albans, it wasn't a good pass, and she's down on 1D and sets it across to, I think, to Natalie for a kill. And she just always finds a way to make the play, and the girls really feed off that ability of hers.
Talk about the senior class. You have 6 seniors on this year's roster. What has the senior class meant to Buffalo High School volleyball?
Oh, wow, this class has been phenomenal. They've come in and they were the basis for our state runner-up run. They have a lot of potential at every position, from blockers to defensive players to servers. We were able, their sophomore season, a couple of them came in at the state tournament in a couple little roles. McKinley Nall is our senior back row specialist. She is a jump server, and when we were struggling in the state tournament her sophomore year, we bring her in off the bench cold, and she hits 3 or 4 big jump serves for aces. She did the same thing last year for us in the regional matchup with Ravenswood, 3 or 4 big aces. So, it's not just 1 or 2 in certain positions, it's that class overall that we have. Another one is Mackenzie Ross, who plays a big role with the net. Her blocking is key, and she's a big figure there. Our 5th senior starter is Madeline Sonyug. She played last year as almost an emergency role. A girl gets hurt the first night of the season. Madeline comes in and proceeds to set the school record for serve percentage, And it's just, they're always ready to step up, and no matter what their role is, they give their best. They always give 100% all the time. And, that's just a tremendous attribute that, I'm lucky to have as a coach, as a senior group like that.
As we inch closer to the latter half of the season, especially with the state tournament getting very, really close, and it seems like with time flying by, it's going to be there in a blink of an eye.
Yes.
But for you guys to continue what you guys do, what do you want to see differently from your team now moving forward?
I think the biggest thing, and it's almost always with a lot of teams, is consistency. Volleyball can be very up and down at times. It can vary from one set to the next. And I think for this team to be the best that they can be, it's just consistency when we have the ball on our side of the net. that enables us to have a better rhythm. We like to play at a high tempo, and being consistent on our passing is the key, I think. And moving forward, I think if we can increase the ability to stay consistent in those things, we should put ourselves in a good position to advance.
Well, Coach, good luck the rest of the way. Good luck as the season, again, inches closer. State volleyball tournament's right around the corner, so good luck, and we wish you guys all the best.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Up next, we'll talk with the head football coach of the Capital Cougars, head coach Jon Carpenter, here on the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. Welcome back into this week's edition of the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy. Thank you all for joining me. We are pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the Capital Cougars and arguably the best-dressed coach to this point on this podcast this season, the head coach of the Cougars, Coach Jon Carpenter. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My man, I got to start. That shirt is popping, and I like it a lot.
It's Sunday. I just wore it to church and I just stuck it on.
Almost looks like
Kept it on for you.
It almost looks like you're about ready to, you're not ready to, let go of summer, even though the fall's right here. It looks like you're not ready to let go of summer almost.
No, it's 95. So these things feel good.
Well, along with the warm weather, you guys are playing good football right now. You guys won your last two games. What's really working well for you guys right now?
I think we're starting to hit, and be aggressive. And I know with today's world with concussions and all that, people don't want to talk about it, but it is a violent game by nature. And so I think these kids have learned to, and we've prodded them to, you got to knock the crap out of each other to be good at it. And they've embraced that on Wednesdays. We get after it quite a bit, and they're not scared. So I think that's helped us out.
Yeah, when you start to see that the wheels start going in motion for your guys, especially with a young group like that, how encouraged does that leave you about the future of these guys that you have in your program?
Oh, makes you get up early in the morning and stay up late at night. You try to, especially, I have the experience of being fired and thinking you'll never do it again. So when it starts going, like I say, not a day goes by here that I don't realize how blessed I am. And you stop and you smell and you look around and enjoy every bit of it. And right now it's pretty exciting.
You mentioned coming back. You were gone for 3 years. Now you're back after serving over a decade as Capitals coach in the 2010s. But what's it like for you? Kind of walk me through that. You're now back on the sidelines. What's it been like for you just to kind of be back around a high school football team, coaching a high school football team, and actually being back on the sidelines as well?
Blessed is the only word that comes to mind. I've spent a lot of last 4 years really. The last year I was here was COVID, and I think we were about the only team in the state shut down and not playing. So it's been a long time it's been a real long time since I've been able to have fun with it. The last 2 or 3 years I was here was when we had good football teams, but it was really, really rocky over the things I chose to fight about. I wouldn't go back and change it, but to be there now and to have, it feels like it did in 2010 when I first got here. The kids are excited and everybody's just kind of like a hippie commune or something. It's fun, and I think, I'd like to tell you how hard we work and all that crap and how smart I am and all that, but I think the thing we do is we have more fun than most people, and like I say, I don't let a minute go by that I don't appreciate it.
What do you like about this year's group?
The fact that they work so hard, and they stick together, and it's rare to have such good kids that the GPA's out of the roof. Such good kids, and to be honest with you, that scares you when you first come back. You got to have some hardcore, aggressive types, and they're doing both now, and so that's the number one thing is they no belly aching, no selfishness. They do whatever you ask them to do, and that's pretty rare.
Has coaching changed for you since whenever you first got the job here at Capital to now, or just whenever you first started coaching in general to now? Have you seen your coaching philosophy or how you approach things as a coach change?
Me personally?
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I had a hard time. Balancing the how everybody treated kids from downtown, and I think there were certain times that I don't know if too soft's the word, but I've learned how to block all that out, and I've learned how to, and I tell these kids all the time, that when you love somebody as much as I think, the coaches do, I think I've learned that if we really love somebody, you're going to demand they do it right. If somebody, not that, now that part has changed. I feel like somebody crosses one of them, then it don't matter who it is. Then then I'm going to protect them. And I think being the head coach, I think you're the alpha male. Not that you're the. That's why I tell them, don't mean you're the toughest, don't mean you can fight, but it means you protect everybody. And I think that's definitely different downtown. When you have a group of kids, you get in our huddle and it looks like the village people. We got one of every color you can have, and with having a diverse group there's issues, from outside people, and I think I spent a lot of time, and I still do. I would never let anybody even look down at them, without barking at them, and but I think I've learned how to, when it's time to, do things, you have to hold them accountable and make them do things right, and I think that's the ultimate change, I guess, that I think I've experienced.
From your perspective, what do you think is the biggest thing in high school football here in the state that's changed over the last 5, 10, 15 years that you've been in the coaching realm?
I think the recruiting stuff and all that's kind of that's soured the competition part of it, because now you're, when I first started, it was, the coaching thing was a fraternity, and the guy that, the measuring stick around here for me has always been Stevie Edwards, and he and he's like, I don't even tell him enough probably, and I don't see him every day, don't talk to him every month, but, when my dad died, talk to him, certain things like that. So I think there were guys you compete against, and we want to kick the shit out of each other on Friday nights, and we're probably not good to talk to on Friday until Saturday morning after we compete, but I know that there's a, it's just a game,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it doesn't turn personal. And he's somebody that, no matter if you win or lose, he's somebody you respect, and you think, that it matters to me that people like Stevie Edwards and there are several others that win, lose, or draw, that they would still help you out, and I think that's been lost with all the trying to steal people's players and all that. And I think that's a unfortunate part of it. I think, when all these conversations about the transfer and all that, and, I think they've taken away some of the good parts of it, if that makes sense.
Parkersburg this week. Obviously, you guys are still wanting to build off the momentum that you guys have had over the last couple of weeks, but tough test against the Big Reds at home.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think for Parkersburg this year?
Same as always, really well coached. It makes it tough no matter no matter if they've got 25 seniors or if they've got 25 freshmen, they're going to be in the right place. And, and in my experience has always been, they're one of the measuring sticks for how well your football program's going. Is they're always doing things right. They're not going to beat themselves, and so it's a good test. That's who you want to compete against. So it's exciting at the same time.
Let's talk about a couple of your players, and let's start with David Robinson Jr., who is still just a young pup, sophomore for you guys, but as we've talked before, very physical running back for you guys. What's it been like for you just to kind of see him grow, still being a sophomore, but still being able to see him grow and learn different things throughout the course of the season? What's that like for you?
You know, if you're around him, the most amazing thing you'll see about him is, you know, I wish people could come see him in the lunchroom or see him in the locker room, because he is one of the most mild-mannered kids, great student. I mean, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. You know, I mean, he's A+, and it's hard to even appreciate the things he does on the football field. Not hard to appreciate, but it's hard to talk about when you know what kind of. It's just so weird. I mean, you know, we had a kid here named Keon Wright when I first got here, and he reminds you so much of him. You know, like if you want him to carry the ball 35 times, he'll do it. If you want to carry him the ball 2, he'd do it, and his attitude will be the same. You know, there's been several times this year that he'll, you know, that he'll put another one of his teammates in to, you know, to make sure they're, you know, he just pulls for everybody, and like I said, he's one of the guys that you'd want to marry your daughter and play tailback. So he's a rare bird, and I'm tickled to death he's just a sophomore.
Let's talk about Ja'Cory Clark, another guy for you guys that's made a jump from his from last season to now. But when you first saw him in the locker room or first saw him in the weight room in the off season, where do you think he's grown the most from whenever you first saw him to where he is now?
Confidence. You know, his brother was Kayshawn Haley, and he's big, physical. He does everything right. You know, another great kid. You know, he wouldn't say crap if he had a mouthful, but he's just such a good dude. I think, and it's hard to. It's not hard, but you know, as the coach, you still, you know, you got to evaluate yourself. And I think, you know, I told him the other day, you know, that you got to apologize to him because he would do anything you asked him to do. You know, but I don't think we didn't have him coached up enough to do his job well enough. And I think some kids, when you look at him and you think, well, you know, he's big, strong, he can do everything, but he wants to please you so much, and you know, and you feel bad like after that first game that, you know, that maybe on the film it looks like he didn't play well, but you know, you got to take the ownership of it and realize you didn't coach him well, and I think you know, Coach Porter's done a great job with him. You know, and the reality of it is we're just so young. I mean, as a staff, you know, we're only a month and a half old, maybe, something like that. So to see him gain confidence and be sure of himself is that's one of the best things about coaching. And so, like I say, right now he's doing lights out.
I'll kind of open up the floor to you a little bit. Take me through your depth chart. I mean, who are some guys that have impressed you, whether it be in these first couple of weeks of the season or during the off season and the regular season as well? Who's caught your eye?
There's a bunch of them. Fernando Valdivia is pound for pound one of the best football players I've ever been around. And again, I know you think I'm probably lying to you, but such a beautiful person. And he's, you know, he started quarterback for 2 years, and now he's, you know, I told him, I said, you know, you're too good a football player to be standing beside me when we're on defense, and you're too good of a football player not to try to get you the ball in as many spots as we can. And just his leadership and just his, you know, just, like I say, those guys are so easy to want to coach, and I think they're real easy for guys to want to play with because they're not selfish. And he does a beautiful job leading the football team. You know, Tucker Van Meter is another one, just a big, strong kid, and I like him. You know, he didn't have. He's gaining confidence every day, and you know, and he's learning how just to keep his mouth shut and just work hard, and you know, that's what I tell him: just try and knock it out of people. Don't do all the, you know, it's a pretty simple game, and he's done that. Tomas Cintron is. I don't know if I mean. You know, I think I've told him he was the first meeting I had here. I'd made my mind up about halfway in it. And I was going to run him off. You know, his body language was terrible, and I thought, and he's turned out to be one of the best football players we have, and just with Teran Rush, who played for me, he's, working the hell out of them in the weight room, and to see, and there's so many of them that they've grown up and became a man in a short time, and they're doing, and Tomas sticks out to my head so much because he's turned into a great football player, but a good leader. How he treats people, and those are the good things about being around football that nobody sees. Cam Harris, who is one of the best running backs in this valley, but he's done such a good job on defense. He's becoming the leader there, and just to see guys like that, to not worry about stats or, usually that football can be a really, it can really sour your relationship with kids on how well you can share it, and to have, and knowing we don't have anybody that worries about that is like I say, super, super impressive. Damian Johnson, one of the fastest kids we ever had, but such a beautiful dude, and you see him run interceptions back and punts, and you're like, come on, I don't know who's calling plays, but he needs to be fired for not handing that kid the ball. But he's, like I said, he's no complaining. He just, all those kids just want to do whatever they can do to win, and it's really special.
A few more for you, and for you guys to kind of get back to the state playoffs and continue to go through this tough schedule that you guys have. Yeah. What do you guys have to do to continue this momentum the years are on?
The first thing is we don't ever talk about the schedule. That's just Capital High School. I'll tell them. I said, your biggest competition's Capital High School. If you can come, you got to prepare the same way tomorrow as if you were playing the Cabin Creek Colts or if you were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so far they've, I think they're getting that, and they're the same intensity every day, and they come in and compete every day. Wednesday's traditionally Wednesday for us is a big deal. War Daddy Wednesday we call it, and if they're competing there, a lot of times, and I think that's the key here is, or just the truth is. Before when I was here, it's not natural for kids to want to be great. It's natural for people to want to find the easy way, and there's no easy way. So, the more they adopt that mental toughness to be great, like I said, I think they're experiencing it right now. Good things are happening to them. So that's the thing you pray about every morning is they just keep buying into that.
And finally, I know you're an East Bank alum, and Calvert Field's grandstand got torn down just a couple of months ago. Yeah. A lot of reaction, a lot of local reaction from the people there over in East Bank about that. But for you, when you saw the grandstand get torn down, do you kind of feel like a piece of you went down with that, or how do you kind of view that?
I drove up. I think we were scrimmaging somewhere or something. I can't remember where we were that Friday. That I saw the picture. They first tore it down. No, I drove. It's unfortunate. I wish it wasn't like that. Sad. Obviously, but when you go up there, it's easy to turn venomous, and especially somebody like me who likes to piss and moan and cry around about things. But no, I think, you sit up there and I'm just so grateful that I got to be part of something like East Bank. And it was a really special thing. And it wasn't about that field. It was about the people. And I try to explain these kids. I've been fortunate. I've been part of the best 2 football programs in the state of West Virginia, Capital and East Bank. It's like, being around the 49ers and the Steelers. So I've been blessed. So no, like I said, it is sad, but like I said, I think anytime it turns sad for me, I just, thank God I could have had to go to Hoover or somewhere. So I'm blessed to be part of East Bank. I hate to see it go away, but, it's something nobody will ever be able to take it away from you. If you went there and, if you went there and were part of it, You ever hear Nick Saban's story about if you want to be happy for a 30 minutes, eat a steak. And if you want to be happy for a day, go golfing. You want to be happy for a month, buy a new car. But if you want the best out of life, be involved in something that when it's gone, people miss you and people miss it. So I think the East Bank thing. It's like I look at it that way. I'm so grateful to be part of something that to get to like I say, that place drastically changed my life, and so I'm just blessed to be part of that.
Well, Coach, good luck Friday night against Parkersburg. Good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Up next, we'll talk about my picks for this upcoming weekend in high school and college football, and we will go over the stats leaders from last week as well. This is the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook.
From middle school, I remember having a conversation with my sister and telling her that I wanted to be a counselor.
The passion's always there to help someone who's vulnerable and help someone who needs a little guidance along the way.
I try to find things in common with them. A lot of times for me, it can be anything from not dressing up to just, like I said, meeting them where they're at. Literally, that's our motto. We meet you where you are.
My energy is just, I try to make it feel so welcoming.
I think the big thing with me is it's always what's in the best interest of the client.
I try to be very open-minded.
This is whatever you need, I'm here to help you with.
Final segment here on the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. Special thanks to both of our guests, Barry Clendenin of Buffalo and Jon Carpenter of Capital. A lot of insight, a lot of player detail as well. So I really appreciate their time. And we did it on a Sunday. It's never easy to talk on a Sunday, but I appreciate them both for taking the time and chatting with me about their teams. Picks-wise this week. Last week we went 7-3. It was an okay week. Had a couple of misses, 2 on the college side, 1 on the high school side, but this week, let's try and shake it up a little bit. Here are my picks for this week in regards to high school and college football. I have Capital over Parkersburg, Spring Valley over George Washington, Chapmanville over Scott, Nitro over Wayne, Mingo Central over Point Pleasant. And on the college side, I have Ohio State over Michigan State, Utah over Arizona, Oklahoma State over Kansas State, Marshall over Western Michigan, and Georgia over Alabama, which arguably should be the game of the year in college football. And one last time, a special thank you to our 2 sponsors, Mountain Care Network and 5th Street Brewing. But before we go, you thought I was going to leave this out, didn't you? Well, I'm not. I'm good like that. I'm just saying. I have my moments. But here are the Week 4 stat leaders here at HD Media.
We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. There ain't no one like cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me to give a damn, it just don't faze me. I got my Xbox, she can't play me. Money in a text box, I get paid. We the best. We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best. There ain't no rest. For the wicked I'm bad and I'm blessed. Put it to the test. For the rest there ain't no contest. So what's next? Got me leveling up, I'm obsessed. I bring the fire like I'm possessed. My personnel and my clique is the best. There ain't no contest. There ain't no one like cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me.
That'll do it for today's podcast. Again, special thank you to the audience in regards to watching or listening to the show. Again, special thank you to our 2 guests, and Barry Clendenin and Jon Carpenter, and our 2 incredible sponsors in 5th Street Brewing and Mountain Care Network. Video producer today, Ethan Young, and I will see you all next week here on the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook.